Hello, my name is Jerry Rael. I'm here at the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 1, here at 841 Santa Fe Drive. This is an excellent place for veterans and for some civilians to come and showcase their artwork. My artwork is about places and spaces.
When I take psilocybin mushrooms, it's like a reset for me. It's one of those things where, for me, like I struggle with depression, I struggle with all of that, and so when I do that, it's kind of a big mental reset, and I get to go back into that kind of state of childlike wonder and just sort of reset my brain.
I mean, it's just like art therapy and then psychedelic therapy mixed in together.
Yes, absolutely it is. And like I said, I can literally say the combination has saved my life.
I would very for natural medicines, cannabis, mushrooms. In my opinion, is safer alternatives than getting opioids or pharmaceuticals, and it helps.
And taking time to learn about the medicine. And when we think about things as medicine instead of drugs, it has more of a healing quality to it. Obviously, things can be super fun. It could be healing, but it could also be fun. But at the same time, these are healing medicines, so we need to treat them with the respect that they have.
I think that natural medicines such as psilocybins, I think that's the right phrase, is good. It helps because sometimes you do need to rewire your brain, and the psilocybin done correctly, and I stress that term firmly, if you do it correctly, will help.
I like to just go out mostly local in Littleton and like to get as many animals as I can.
Okay, yeah, you're like a hunter, but with a camera.
That's true. I do shoot just in a different way.
Right.
So, yeah.
Content presented in Cheshire Corners is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult a legal professional if you have any questions or concerns about the content of this disclaimer, this series, or the legal implications surrounding psychedelic substances in your jurisdiction.
The issues that many veterans suffer from are very similar to the issues that many of us suffer from, but it's especially in their cases, it's a little more extreme because they have to deal with significant PTSD and depression and anxiety to the point where a lot of them are thinking of not being here anymore. And a lot of people mention that natural medicine has saved their lives and really been significant to helping them, as opposed to what is traditionally pushed on them from the pharma side, which has a lot of side effects. And a lot of the people I talked to just said that the pharmaceuticals are just poison and it's done nothing beneficial for them. I mean, a few people said that, they do still take pharmaceuticals because they kind of have to. And, in this particular case, it was the art walk. So it's even a combination of art therapy and natural medicine therapy, kind of combining forces, helping these people to live productive lives, to live lives that they feel good in.
And do you have any feelings about natural medicine for PTSD?
Natural medicines are great. I do have some PTSD issues. I smoke cannabis, and that's the best medicine for me. I don't like taking pills. I don't like taking anything that's chemical, anything like that.
Right.
Always something that's organic.
Right, yeah.
So CBDs and cannabis.
I've worked with a lot of PTSD veterans over the decades. I'm a military brat. I grew up in the military as a family member for 16 years of my life before my father retired. He joined the Army at 17 years old, turned 18 in Vietnam, 2 tours in Vietnam. And starting in the 90s, all of a sudden, he started to have symptoms that looked very much like leukemia. And he went to the VA, the Veterans Administration hospitals, and every doctor there told him, "We think you have leukemia." It wasn't leukemia at all. My mom got really involved and started her own investigations and found out that there are other people that had these symptoms that it wasn't registering as leukemia, but all the symptoms were like leukemia. So what is going on here? All the doctors were giving her a runaround. They didn't seem to know. At the same time, they were making very much exact statements of this is what it is. And she's saying like, no, it's not. And she started connecting with other military veterans and other military wives whose husbands were displaying and had the same presentation of these same symptoms. And this was at the very early years. The soldiers who had served in Vietnam were coming up with these maladies and these diseases and these syndromes that were not able to be identified as exactly what they were. And that's when this idea, the very first time that, my mother had, and being in the household, me also hearing about Agent Orange.
Prescription drugs have always caused me a lot of trouble. I actually have, the reason why I have Crohn's disease is because I took Accutane, which is an acne medication, and that medication destroyed my insides.
Yeah, medications have too many side effects.
Right?
They do you worse than they do you
They
good.
really do. They really do.
The creator didn't invent these things for nothing.
Right? Exactly.
Go organic, the best way to go. People ask me what inspired me to do my work, and I always tell them places and spaces.
Places?
Because
Okay,
that
places
explains
and
everything.
Spaces, yeah. Amazing.
If you want anything else to know about that, go to www.jerryrael.com.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you very
it.
much
Thank
for
you.
having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're amazing. Perfect.
Peace out.
In the 1960s, the Dow Chemical Corporation invented an herbicide. They synthesized molecules into an herbicide to kill plants. And that was the 60s, but the chemists and the people working with this started having their own diseases, very much like leukemia and different things like that. And Dow started researching, like, why we're getting our people sick at the same time? And anybody can do a search on this and find out how the Dow Chemical Corporation covered up this chemical that is in their herbicides. I think it was called TCDD dioxin. TCDD dioxin. And this dioxin molecule they called was an accidental contaminant. Now, I worked in laboratories, and I'll tell you what, there is no accidents like that in chemistry when you come up with a final chemical molecular composition, because every molecular composition can be put into a series of laboratory equipment that exists back then and it exists right now today. You put it in, it analyzes it, it will tell you every single molecule and atomic structure that is inside of whatever you put into that machine. It will feed you and tell you exactly what's in it. So there was no mistake. The problem is that there was not a broad spectrum of understanding of science back then. So they can get away with anything that they told anybody. And our government, and since in particular our politicians, are woefully ill-equipped to understand science. We see that nowadays when there are politicians in the state of Colorado who are trying to denounce the positive effects of even things like industrial hemp and psilocybin.
Hey, I'm Luke Stine. I'm an artist in Denver, Colorado, and I'm also a podcaster as well. So I'm on the Facets of Fate podcast. It's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast with me and all my best friends, and it's great. It's one of those things where talking about natural medicine, sometimes the best is hanging out with your friends and having a good time, and also having a good social circle that is there for you and can see when you're struggling and when you're failing, and they can hold you accountable. Here's some of my art if you want to take a look at that. I'm really inspired by medieval art and medieval architecture. I have a degree in art, and I also have a degree in film, and I base a lot of my art on medieval engravings and medieval armor, clothing, things like that. And I'm always fascinated by it. I really enjoy kind of like the very ostentatious stylings that they got away with. And I try to showcase that a lot in my art. At the same time, adding kind of these fantasy elements from things like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I love that. What art school do you go to?
I went to Metropolitan State University.
Okay.
And I've shown over at their gallery. It was great. Here at the BFW, though, this is home now. Other than that, I guess you said what branch of service? I was in the Army.
The Army? Okay, awesome.
Joined right out of high school, and after that, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I always knew I wanted to make art, but I always had people telling me it wasn't feasible, it wasn't viable.
Yep.
And now I'm selling art every month. So.
Any opinions on natural medicine for people suffering with PTSD? Things like ibogaine, ketamine?
Honestly, every time when I take psilocybin mushrooms, it's like a reset for me. It's one of those things where, for me, like, I struggle with depression. I struggle with all of that, and so when I do that, it's kind of a big mental reset, and I get to go back into that kind of state of childlike wonder and just sort of reset my brain.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only natural medicine I take. I mean, other than vitamins and things like that. But,
Right, yeah.
But those are, I mean, I swear by it. That reset button is so hard to find, and it's very hard to find without something that's like addictive or without, permanent harm to your body.
Right.
Pharmaceutical corporations 2 weeks ago paid $1 billion for a psilocybin company. 1 year ago, that's the same pharmaceutical corporations are saying psilocybin has no medical benefit. It is unproven science, and it is possibly even harmful. We're told one thing for us to keep away from it until they figure out how to monetize it. And then as soon as they've got the route of completely how to take it, synthesize it, take it from its natural form into a synthetic form, which will have side effects. I mean, look at any pharmaceutical side effects that's in your medicine cabinet right now. Take a natural molecule, synthesize it. The reason they synthesize it is so they can patent it. The reason they can patent it so they can sue anybody who gets close to even coming around with it and messing around with the profitability from it, so that by the time it's wrecking your internal organs and all of them, it doesn't show until years and years later, like a decade later, which is how Agent Orange started to show up among all of these Vietnam veterans in these weird ways, a decade and a half later. And then the government saying they knew exactly what would happen, because that's what happened at the Dow Chemical Corporation who made this dioxin. They knew about it. The government knew about it. Everybody who put this strategy together to defoliate the cover of the enemy knew about it. Everybody knew about it except for the soldiers. There is a long history where these type of traumas begin from. Things that you have large groups coming that are cycling through our military system or systems of military with all the different branches, and they have these traumas. And whatever the experience of these traumas, whether it was like an Agent Orange type trauma, it was a trauma experienced in battle, or any other type of trauma that happened to them. The problem is they cycle out. There's a beginning, there's a middle part of their service, there's an end of their service, and they're back in civilian life.
I know a lot of people who have struggled with PTSD and things like that. I personally, when I was getting out of the military, I got a lot of help in kind of like a clinical situation, and it helped me through kind of those harder moments and things like that. And it built me a really good support system with both the VA and with other veterans. And it taught me these kind of like coping mechanisms with my friends and things like that. So unfortunately, I'm not an expert on anything. I just know what works for me.
Can you show me a few of these little guys? Can you hold up your little cards? Yeah, I'd love to see those. Really cool.
I do these while I'm on the podcast. So they're my like silly little like tarot cards. And I always feel that people should leave First Friday with original art. And so I try to make the most affordable art that they can take home, whether they use it as a bookmark or hang it on their fridge, or even, like it's cheap enough they can lose it. It doesn't matter.
Right. So I love that. That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
You see veterans right now using mushrooms to help with their PTSD. So how does psilocybin help veterans with PTSD? Specifically, what it does is when this molecule enters the body, there's a few things that it does with people who have deep-seated trauma. First of all, it calms the internal alarm. The memory of the trauma remains, but the body, because hormonally in your brain, when serotonin kicks in, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, all of those things sound great because that's the fun part, right? But there's other elements other things that it's doing in our mind, in our brains, that affect our larger mind. What it does is it separates out the 8 pounds of gray matter that's physical brain into the higher mind. Our brain and our mind, two different things, right? So the first thing it does is the mind tells the brain, remain calm, stop the internal alarm. The memory is still there, it remains, but my body, our body, mind and brain, our body can stop reacting as though it is happening to you right now, or it is about to happen.
Hi, my name is Octavian. I'm an artist. I do multiple different mediums and styles of art. These are a few of the things that I have today. I tend to gear towards the more psychedelic, and I tend to use different types of my art to work well with different types of psychedelics.
Like pairings?
Yes. So like a lot of my nature stuff works really well with psilocybin type stuff, while some of my more abstract stuff works well with semi-synthetic type, and they're really enjoyable and I enjoy doing them. I'm a Navy veteran. I got injured, and so a lot of my stuff works on multiple levels, on healing and feeling good and working with these things that that help me integrate more and help me work with these mediums.
I mean, especially for like depression, anxiety, PTSD, chronic pain.
Yes, and it does, and it has helped me extremely on multiple different levels.
Right.
Both the medicines and the artwork, and combining them together has just literally changed my life.
The second thing it does is it brings the buried pain to the surface. Because like I say, anything that is not love will eventually rise to the surface of your life to seek healing. That's what it does. It brings the buried pain from the depths into the shallows so you can work with it better. So veterans may face grief or fear or moral injury with less avoidance, less running from it, less all of our barriers and our swords and shields internally that have been developed over time to just live life in order to deal with this, just so they can just be alive from day to day. Those swords and the shields are all of a sudden like lowered and put away. Another thing that psilocybin does as part of all of this overall experience, when it starts to come into this realm of this understanding, is it loosens these damaging beliefs. Psilocybin, when you do have that relationship with it, it helps replace this idea, this of survivor's guilt, this I will never be safe, right? And it can be seen from a new perspective, because what it does is it restores connection and meaning. That's what it does. So psilocybin, it helps replace isolation and hopelessness with belonging, connection, purpose, faith, hope.
I mean, it's just like art therapy and then psychedelic therapy mixed in together.
Yes, absolutely it is. And like I said, I can literally say the combination has saved my life.
Right. Yeah. I think that's one of the most important things. So many veterans have come forward to say that they wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for psychedelic or natural medicine.
And that is very true.
And I think that's the most important thing. If it helps one person, if it can keep you alive as opposed to not being alive.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, what's the best that can happen?
Right? What's the worst?
But what's the best?
Right, yeah, exactly. What is the best?
What's the best that can happen?
Yeah. If you want to show us some of your artwork, yeah.
Absolutely. So I like to use different aspects if I'm feeling more on a water level or a more fire level.
Okay, yeah.
Or sky and air. It just depends. A lot of my stuff reacts with UV, and so it can give a more in-depth 3D experience. I can cover some of my stuff with epoxy resin, so it gives an extra level of depth, and so you can really get lost in them, and you can find all kinds of different shapes and all kinds of different stuff in it.
Yeah, the acrylic with the epoxy is really just like the shine of it is just, I don't know, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
Thank you very much. It is one of my favorites, and sometimes I even mix the acrylics and the oils so they do different things with each other. It's really fun.
Everything works together. We're talking about that, how, music and art and medicine, and it all interconnects.
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, do you have Instagram, social media, website?
I do. I'm on Instagram. It's ANU_visions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate it.
You've seen the Hollywood movies of somebody, breaks into a vault and all of a sudden all the alarms go off. That is what's going off in the nervous system of a PTSD veteran. It's the calm, and then all of a sudden every light goes off at the same time, and the red lights are, and the sirens going, and the alarm is going off, and you hear the police cars coming from. That's kind of like what it's like for a PTSD veteran of what I've experienced working with them for 2.5 decades. So the first thing it does is psilocybin enters the body and it punches in the code of the alarm box, and the alarms stop. The memory still remains, but the body can stop reacting as though it is happening to them right now of whatever happened to them 28 years ago. It brings this buried pain from the depths into the shallows. So it's workable. It's of trauma. It's of pain and guilt and all kinds of different things, all mixed together in this primordial emotional soup.
Cool. My name's Matt. I'm the owner and builder of Wildwood Custom Framing. It's all handmade frames, mostly for concert posters, photography, stretch canvases, and a lot of it's, at least our current frame designs, are inspired by psychedelic art. We pull from people like Owen Murphy of One Drop Design, Alex Gray, try to incorporate those kind of elements in our frames. Been doing it for about 5 years, and yeah, we have a good time. A lot of concert posters.
All right. And what do you, any opinions on natural medicine for anxiety, depression, PTSD?
Yeah, I would very for natural medicines, cannabis, mushrooms. In my opinion, a safer alternative than getting opioids or pharmaceuticals, and
Right.
it helps.
Right? I think if it helps one person, that should be enough, right?
I gotta tell people it's only stupid if it doesn't work, but
Right.
it does. They've made my life better. They've inspired some of my frames. They inspire some of my favorite artists. So it's a good thing for sure. Sometimes you need to maybe blow off a little steam safely. It's a very helpful way to do it, and there's lots of good after effects too. Days, weeks, months down the road.
Right, and fewer side effects than
Yeah,
prescription
exactly. Less addiction, all these kind of gnarly things. So
Yeah.
in my life, it's been great.
I had one lady who had basically arthritis so horrible throughout her entire lifetime that her hands were permanently, she thought, were in fists, that the arthritis was so debilitating. She could not unfurl her hands, and she had worked with CBD for 1 week, and for almost 20 years, she can now unfold her hands with 1 week of all natural organic CBD, while she was on 2 to 3 medications her entire life, masking the symptoms of arthritis.
Pharmaceuticals, primarily, they have to put their hand in it and they have to kind of fiddle around with it so they can market it and sell it as something that they've created.
Yeah.
As opposed to natural medicine, which doesn't need that.
I mean, it's just like booze. It's all poison, if you ask me. But, you know, to each their own. That's how I do it, though. I try to avoid pharmaceuticals at all costs, really. Yeah,
Right.
Psychedelics have done wonders in my life.
Right. And yeah, if you want to show us your artwork here.
Yeah, so a lot of it, all the frames are done by hand, mostly on a table saw, and a lot of them are inspired by psychedelic artwork. A few of them are even on blotter papers.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I love that.
And
That one's amazing.
oh yeah, that's so most of them are done by my homies Owen Murphy and Tom Shaw.
That one up there, too.
That's OG Richard Biffle. He's kind of an OG concert poster guy. And yeah, I just love trippy art. You know, medicate, look at stuff on the walls.
I think his name is Brian Hubbard out of Texas, who has taken the charge and taken it all the way to the highest level of governments to get Ibogaine treatment to be a sincere study of research and going into it. Heroes and men of valor like Brian doing that. That's who we've got, people like that. Plant medicines are here They're going to help veterans with PTSD. And we need to spread this as fast as possible because there are people dying every single day as a result of their PTSD. And we are not going to have that with our veterans anymore. Plant medicine is here. It's been removed. It's been oppressed. It's been suppressed. It's been put in prohibition for so long. We no longer have a relationship with it. And it's imperative that we learn how to build a relationship with these natural plant psychedelic medicines again.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Shannon Chalmers. I create these beautiful mosaic skulls. Each one has its own personality. They're all made from real skulls, real gemstones, and sterling silver. I started when I was younger. My parents used to own an American New Age store, and my dad made his first skull with a medicine wheel. He's part of Jibwa, and I always thought I could create something really cool with it as well. So this is my interpretation from them.
And what do you think about natural medicine for like PTSD, depression, anxiety?
I think it's definitely helpful. I definitely think like always microdosing is super helpful, and always being with someone that has done it before and taking time to learn about the medicine. And when we think about things as medicine instead of drugs, it has more of a healing quality to it. Obviously, things can be super fun. It could be healing, but it could also be fun. But at the same time, these are healing medicines, so we need to treat them with the respect that they have.
There are thermometer people and there are thermostat people. Thermometer people, you put a thermometer into an environment like under your tongue in your mouth, and the thermometer will react to that environment and it will adapt to its environment. And it presents as its environment. But then there are thermostat people. And thermostat people are a lot like thermostats. You walk up to a wall to a thermostat, you adjust the thermostat, and the environment adjusts it into that thermostat. When a high performance person walks into the room, every head turns. And it's not just because they're handsome or beautiful or whatever, it's because they carry an energy with them where the environment adjusts to them. Whereas most people are just kind of wandering around life, just trying to pay bills, and they're under the oppression of taxes and poorly ran cities and towns, and their situation that they're in, and how the systems are trying to drive us into get credit card debt, and now everything is just about work and money.
Lately, I haven't been taking part as much as I used to, just because I'm a workaholic. Right. I work several jobs and stuff, and I haven't had as much time to clock out as I wish I did.
Right. Basically, they're going to look into Ibogaine for veterans. We got a bunch of veterans stand next to them and talk about how amazing it is.
It's been huge for PTSD.
For PTSD.
It's been great. It's just also been like with a grain of salt.
Right, right.
Like everything can be super healing in small quantities and stuff, but like always less is more. And I love that we're now non-discriminating and like decriminalizing these drugs that once were like so heavily. You could go to jail for this, and you could end up with your entire life ruined over something that's natural that comes from it.
Right, right. There's such a kind of pharmaceutical epidemic that's going on where people are overprescribed pharmaceuticals, and I think something from the earth that's more natural.
It comes naturally from the earth instead of something that's manufactured to be addictive. I've never met anyone that's been addicted to mushrooms.
Right.
Or addicted to something that comes naturally from the earth. So that's kind of where I'm about. And it's good for your brain. It's good for all of these things. But honestly, take it in small doses, take little steps, and remember that this is a healing medicine. It's not a daily dose.
Right, exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you talking to me. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
All right.
It took us a long time with a lot of terrible people with terrible intentions and agendas to get us into this situation. It's going to take a lot of good people seeing clearly, finally, and demanding world peace and financial alleviation from our politicians and their corporate handlers. It's gonna take a long time to get us into a better position, but it's got to start somewhere, and it starts with us. It starts with conversations like this.
How you doing? I'm flirting with the good-looking guy over here. I mean, look at this guy. This guy's got shoulders for 3 weeks. I mean, you start at one side, you end a month later, you get to the other shoulder. I mean, it's awesome over there. Well, hey, man, here it is. Men don't get compliments. That's why I would compliment your beard. Because,
thank you.
Okay,
I don't get a lot of compliments. It's nice.
Yeah, men don't get compliments. That's why I'm always about giving the compliments. Hi, I'm John, and this is my photography. I bet you didn't think I was going to get to the point. I've been doing photography for about 30 years. I was in the Army as a photographer. I've done everything from the, as military people call it, the grip and grins. I got promoted to what I call the opportunistic photography, where I just, I'm someplace and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I want to take a picture. My girlfriend and I are both photographers, so we go to the store. It takes us a half an hour just to get around the block. It's like, ooh, let's take a picture. Ooh, let's take a picture. So we're always out there just trying to have that good experience, always looking for the art, because you never know when you're going to see that moment.
Yeah. Do you have any opinions on natural medicine for PTSD, anxiety, depression, as opposed to pharmaceuticals?
I think that natural medicines such as psilocybins, I think that's the right phrase, is good. It helps because sometimes you do need to rewire your brain, and the psilocybin done correctly, and I stress that term firmly, if you do it correctly, will help. It'll calm down the nerves. It'll calm down the freak. It'll calm down that stuff out. And it'll also remove pains and stuff like that as well. I firmly believe in all that stuff. Yes, I do take the American pharmaceutical stuff because, hey, I gotta live. But if I could find a way to get around some of this stuff, I would, yeah.
And for the veterans, I will do anything that I can for any veteran, especially a veteran that has exchanged a certain period of their life or a certain element of their life that where PTSD is now a part of it. I lived in a PTSD household my entire life growing up. I get it. Come to the Church of Psychedelics. This journey is your own spiritual journey. It's your own path to healing, but we'll support you. We'll help you with the harm reduction aspects of any of this, so you have more good experiences than bad. We'll support you with a community. We'll support you with teachings. We'll support you with scientific information. We'll support you in a holding a spiritual container for you and help guide you. Just come to the Church of Psychedelics. Come under the umbrella of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993. Come together underneath this ability that was written, and it was and the consideration of spiritual purposes was written into the Natural Medicines Act in Colorado a couple years ago.
Well, there's a lot of side effects with pharmaceuticals, and sometimes they can negatively affect your life more than they can be positive.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, do you have social media, website?
I'm multitasking over here. I'm interviewing with this fine gentleman over here, but I'm also talking to you guys because I don't want to miss an opportunity. Oh yes, I have an Instagram. It's Root of All Photography. It's an Instagram. I also have a website, it's Root of All Photography, but the website's a little antiquated at this point. What else can I do for you?
That sounds great. I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
I want to sincerely thank every veteran that put their life on the line to bring stability, to families around the world, to bring safety to families around the world, to do what they do. Not every military is not bad. Military is just misused a lot of the time. That's all. It's misused. People talk about the military like, Doug, how can you do this? You come from a family. I love my country. I love the United States of America. I am incredibly proud of the United States of America. I am dismally disappointed, and I am ashamed of my government in a lot of different ways. There are good people in it, but there's not nearly enough. I know what it's like to be in that environment of PTSD. And even living outside of it, I've done the work, boots on the ground, helping people up off of their knees from the sides of roads and under bridges, that their lives turned out that way as a result of PTSD for their work with the government that didn't support them, but I will. So, and I'll continue to for the rest of my life. So I just want to say thank you to them at a level of gratitude that can never be measured nor repaid.
I'm Michael Archbold, a nature photographer. I like to just go out mostly local in Littleton and like to get as many animals as I can.
Okay, yeah, you're like a hunter, but with a camera.
That's true. I do shoot just in a different way.
Right.
So, yeah.
You have any feelings on natural medicine as opposed to pharmaceuticals for PTSD, for trauma, for anxiety, for depression?
Honestly, I don't know much about natural medicines, but I'd be happy to try them. Honestly, I do have a lot of anxiety. So,
yeah. Well, pharmaceuticals have quite a few side effects.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to try. It's worth a shot always.
Okay, yeah.
And
then, you want to show us the artwork here? We can do a little.
This one up here is my favorite. It's Pizza Squirrel.
Right.
I found him down in Golden in a park. He was trying to get it up a tree. Couldn't make it.
I love that one. Yeah.
This guy right here, another one of my favorites. He was right in my neighborhood. I was in my room. My mom busted down my door. She's like, "Get the camera, get the camera." And so I found him. Yeah.
It is beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course,
yeah.
of course.
And do you have social media or website or anything like that?
I do. I have an Instagram. Do you want me to like show the camera?
Yeah.
There we go. There's that.
There's generations yet to come that are going to face it in different ways too. There's more PTSD coming from, and it's not always just from Vietnam veterans or Korean War or these things that they don't call wars, but they're wars. You know, Afghanistan, Iraq, you know, things that are happening nowadays. As you can see, the governments, you know, they're starting to wage war in these different ways. Now it's Middle East, in different places in the Middle East, and it's different players. Like, it's more is yet to come, but these medicines are here as healers, as teachers, as philosophers.
You know, if you're a veteran, if you're a first responder, please comment, please ask any questions, please reach out. If you have any questions about the Church of Psychedelics, please reach out to Doug. Leave a comment on this video, leave a question on this video. Let us know how you feel, what your boundaries are when it comes to this kind of medicine, to natural medicine, and everything that's going on. We're here to help and to educate and to do everything we can.
Thank you, Jonathan. Much love, everyone.
Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe to Cheshire Corners. Tell me what you think in the comments. And as always, don't get psyched out.